Hello, my name is Andrew Collins and I'm a telly addict. I have a question for you. What happened to all the colours in BBC One's brown and grey saga, The Village? Ah, here they are. Yes, this was the full-spectrum, saturated and yet almost private return of Mad Men to Sky Atlantic, where I'm afraid it continues to be as good as the people going on about it make it sound. Created by Matthew Weiner and about as self-possessed as any drama has a right to be, Mad Men is nominally about ad men, but actually about, well, sad men. Saddest of all is Don Draper, not so much played by as lived by John Hamm, who may never get another meaningful role in his entire life, but will always have doors open for him.
You play football?
What's in that coffee?
Excuse me? Oh. Look, I've been trying to get to know your team. Not that I'm so important. And they talk about you all the time. So I guess I figured a few minutes alone with you shouldn't be wasted.
Just a minute, Bob.
I've literally no idea what he said there, and I've rewound it about a dozen times. But he's still the coolest cad on TV. The show began in 1960 and has moved at an unhurried pace through the decade. For season 6, we're in December 1967. Not that they put up a caption or anything.
What's that camera you guys are selling? Pentax?
Leica.
And which model will change my life?
Like everybody else, I only know by the price. You know what? Come by. I got a closet full. I'll give you one.
Come on, I'll pay for it.
I'd give one to Christian Barnard.
Christian Barnard, the surgeon who became world famous in December 1967 for performing the first heart transplant. If I sound like I think I'm awfully clever for picking up on that clue, it's only because Mad Men makes me feel clever. And, I don't know if you've noticed this, not all telly does that. This first episode was feature-length and worked as a standalone film with a beginning, middle and end, but enough time in between to enjoy a lengthy subtext shot with no dialogue in it, like this one. Has any other show striven so hard to look like its own credits sequence? I won't go into plot for fear of ruining it for the box set inclined. Needless to say, it remains against all odds and after all this time the most elegant and eloquent slice of American social history ever pitched.
Cheers.
Over on BBC One, more drinking in a high building in New York.
The bag skims the surface of the water and is removed. The bag, yes. I mean, I know you're a caddy person, but...
I was hoping you might come out of the caddy.
Yeah, but some of us don't remember World War II.
This was, for me and other Morrissey fans, the money sequence of Victoria Wood's Nice Cup of Tea, a two-part history lesson on BBC One in which she, well, this.
The thirst for tea led the British on an extraordinary adventure, travelling across the globe in search of this precious leaf. Now I'm going to make that journey.
Now normally the idea of a famous person going on a journey and passing it off as a journey would raise the taxpayer hackles, but this was different. Not only did the subject matter entirely suit the female Alan Bennett, she can hardly be accused of doing it for the glamour.
Well, we've just landed in China. This is Shanghai International Airport.
Just a little hint, bright coloured tags on your luggage make it easier to identify.
That's it, that's me. Let's go and discover the exciting history of tea, shall we?
Clocking up air miles across 3 continents, Wood was a genial, unflappable, sideways-glancing guide, much better suited to engaging with the natives than, say, Eddie Izzard on his recent BBC Globetrot, and quick with an appropriately parochial quip.
And most extraordinary, at the end, they come out with a teapot and cups, and everybody in the audience gets a hot cup of red robe tea poured out for you in front of your very eyes.
So you don't get that at the end of Billy Elliot.
She mucked in, picked tea in China and India, and then came home for the milkier part 2, in which she tried to find out why the British loved tea, more of an excuse to warm the pot with some famous faces.
Well, hey, come on, that's it. Put the kettle on.
And Betty's not wrong.
No.
Put the kettle on.
Yeah.
But the one thing you do get in AA meetings is a very good cup of tea.
Mind you, part 2 has provided me with a lovely segue.
Actor Matt Smith shot to fame playing the 11th Doctor, and he's a big tea drinker. as is the Time Lord himself.
Why do you think Doctor Who drinks tea?
I think that Doctor Who... I'm going to have some more.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some more of the Assam. I'm a bit nervous about the vanilla.
Have another Assam, and when you feel you've got your strength up,
yeah.
I'll slip you some French vanilla.
I really enjoyed the 9th episode of the 7th series of Doctor Who on Saturday, partly because it was written by Mark Gatiss, whose penchant for a period Who meant it was set in 1983, which I love, but mostly because it revived a Doctor Who monster last seen in 1974.
What is that, gas? Could be gas.
The Ice Warrior, first seen in 1967 when I was 2, and then again in 1969 and 1972. But my vivid memory of this once lumpy but now pumped up Martian reptilian must be from 1974, by which time I was totally indoctrinated. They really were marvellous times.
Prepare to launch nuclear weapons. Aye, sir.
But Gatiss, who's about my vintage, found a neat setting in which to thaw the Ice Warrior out, a Russian nuclear sub captained by Game of Thrones' Liam Cunningham.
For the motherland. For the motherland.
The best Doctor Who treads a delicate line between schoolboy humour and parental guidance horror, and in this regard, Gatiss is fleet of foot.
This means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. Oh, Vienna.
It goes without saying that, unlike the old Who, the new Who is spoiled for choice among the finest actors available to humanity. And so yes, you can have David Warner as a smash hits reading Russian professor.
I'm hungry like the world.
I'm not singing.
Don't you know it?
Of course I know it. We do it karaoke.
I can't wait for Mad Men to reach the early 80s. Probably just me watching it by then. Quick intermission. Can I just state for the record that much fancied US post-office sitcom Parks and Recreation, which is thankfully ongoing on BBC4, hit a new level of genius last week?
Kernston's rubber nipples. Tastes like the real thing.
Season 2, Episode 5, Sister City, in which Amy Poehler's Indiana civil servants welcomed an arrogant delegation from Venezuela. This aired in 2009 during Hugo Chavez's third glorious term.
We are also sister cities with Kaesong, North Korea. Their town is far nicer.
That's fine, it's my job. I'm a diplomat. I'm not supposed to take it personally.
We haven't been here for a very long time, but what we have seen is really, from the bottom of our hearts, truly depressing. Really, really sad stuff.
You've got to see the whole episode. More 60s nostalgia before we finish. In fact, could ITV's Morse prequel, Endeavour, set in 1965, be our very own Mad Men? No, but that's not its job. Endeavour, created by Russell Lewis, who writes for Lewis, and based, as they say, on characters created by Colin Dexter, is an extension of a brand, which successfully piloted last year and now enjoys its first series. Preaching to a very large choir, it's hard to imagine how much more laser-guided Endeavour could be to please Morse fans, right down to the familiar white-on-black title cards between the carefully calibrated establishing shots. Who's that woman? Who's the other woman? What's she writing? And so on. It's like Morse, except set in a world of gas meters, French letters and all-male Oxford colleges, where coppers exclaim, "My Aunt Flo!" and the new chief super can use the phrase Spanish practices without fear of paperwork.
Anything for the weekend, sir?
No. Endeavour is very much something for the weekend. Sunken-cheeked, older than his years, Sean Evans has already proven himself a well-cast Constable Morse in what I feel sure the Americans would have called The Adventures of Young Morse, the early years. And the virtually out-of-work Roger Allam is Morse's likeably rumpled pipe-smoking detective inspector.
You're here on merit. Not that you know about the state of you. You might have found time to run an iron. That shirt looks like you slept in it. First impressions, Morse.
See, Britain has got talent. In case you've taped it, I won't go into the plot of the first of 4 brand new feature-length mysteries, and instead let you enjoy it as it slots into place like an old jigsaw. Look out for the Sherlock gag though, which I won't spoil. Talking of spoilers, we had a bit of argy-bargy below the line about Game of Thrones last week. So, if you haven't got Sky and you're catching up on the DVDs, go away, as I'm about to reveal that episode 2 of season 3 was mainly walking.
So how should we pass the time?
By putting one foot in front of the other.
Oh, it's going to be a very dull walk.
Having hit the ground talking in episode 1, GOT3 hit a brisker pace in episode 2 as various groups of characters walked from A to B. It being a saga, with myth and adventure over the next hill, we took it in our stride.
I'm just trying to understand.
Would you please shut up about it?
Rickon, stay with us!
It's all right. The walls will protect him. Where are we going?
North.
Anyone fancy a brew?